Hi everyone, welcome to After Class.
A podcast by two passionate adult ballerinas about all things adult ballet related.
And some random thoughts in between.
We're so glad you're here.
So grab your water bottle
or a cup of coffee
and join us for a quick chat after class.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of After Class. Today we're going to be talking about ballet faux pas. So those small little missteps that every adult dancer runs into at some point. It's totally normal. And the purpose of this episode is really just meant to educate and not to shame or judge anyone. Most of us have done at least one of these things, so totally normal. We're here to normalize the learning curve, but we thought it would be a fun episode and hopefully would be helpful as you might be new to ballet or just starting out and you're wanting to navigate classes gracefully. So joining me today is my co-host, Elena.
Hello everybody, and finally I'm back. Hope everyone is getting used to it. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. Seriously, this episode is gonna be fun. So it's not about shaming anyone because we all been there. We all done it. And at some point, that's how we learn, right? By making mistakes and learning from them and just receiving the feedback. And that's the idea.
So maybe we should start with why this matters. As we said, this isn't about judging or shaming anyone, but there is a reason that studio etiquette is important. And I think the main reason is just because it is a group activity. And so it needs to be built on a mutual understanding and respect for each other and our classmates, the teacher, and just the space of the studio itself. So a lot of these rules, as we've mentioned in past episodes, can be kind of unspoken, which can make it hard as a beginner. And some of them will vary from studio to studio. So that can also be a source of difficulty when you're new and you're starting out. But really, at the end of the day, I think good etiquette will help you have an enjoyable class and get the most out of your experience. So the goal is just to help you avoid these common faux pas. So maybe should we start out with studio etiquette?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the main things to do is to think about correcting someone else. So basically think about not doing that. It comes across like even if you have lots of experience, always remember that someone else doesn't learn the same way as you, or they might not feel as confident as you feeling. So it come across maybe as patronizing or a little bit judgmental, overstepping as well on top of the teacher's feedback. There's a teacher for a reason. And when we were in a classroom sitting in math class, we would never be like, oh, sorry, teacher. Oh, 2 plus 2 equal 4. We don't do that. So it's the same in ballet.
Yeah, and I think kind of a caveat for this is if someone asks for feedback, that's different, obviously. But just giving your unsolicited feedback, I think sometimes, especially if someone is a beginner, it can also make them feel like you are watching them or like they're very noticeably standing out. So if someone's already self-conscious about being in the space and then someone corrects them, it might make them more self-conscious of thinking like, oh, wow, like I must be really obviously a beginner or really obviously not doing things correctly if that person felt like they needed to say something. And so I think in general, I would just err on the side of letting the teacher handle things. I think that's kind of the best way to go, especially if you are either a beginner in general or even just new to the class and you kind of don't know what the class dynamics are because all class dynamics are kind of different. What do you think would be another one that would be like a studio etiquette faux pas?
So something else will be the distancing. So at this point, let's talk about standing too close at the bar. So you get to a class, you're new, there is like 30 of you in a bar. I understand that you want to feel comfortable, you want to be able to do the movements the best of your ability. And even if you're new to that class and you have experience, you just want to be able to start like mixing and start to like melt with the class, right? You just want to blend in. The best way to do that is understanding that everyone needs a space to work and you actually might need to work a little bit onto the angles, like angling out from the bar, towards the bar. Giving a space to everyone is very important. Whether you are already experiencing this class, it's not your first class, but understanding and respecting the rest of the students within the class, that's a great thing. Everyone will appreciate it.
I agree. That's a personal pet peeve of mine. People standing too close at the bar is something that just makes me super uncomfortable. I don't know why.
People need to do pour the brass forward.
And I think it's always better to have the teacher ask you to squeeze in to make more space than it is to have the teacher have to ask you, like, "Hey, can you back up off that person a little bit?" Like, I personally, I would feel less embarrassed by the teacher being like, "Oh, can you squeeze in a little bit to the person in front of you and make some more room?" Versus the teacher being like, "Hey, you're standing really close to the person in front of you. Can you take a couple steps back?" Like, what is the less embarrassing feedback? So, I don't know. Another big one that I think is maybe less obvious, but very important is bringing your water bottle into the center portion of class. Like, this actually happened somewhat recently,
Oh,
a class that
no.
I was in. And it's hard because as a student, I was not going to ask the person to move their bottle. I was going to wait for the teacher to do it, which she did. But it's actually dangerous for once you start moving, especially once you start doing things like
Like
pirouettes and jumps.
in the center of the studio, like in the
Yeah,
on
like,
the
when
floor.
everyone cuts came in yeah, like, when everyone came in to do center, like, when we transitioned off the bar into center, someone brought their
Yeah.
water bottle, and I think that's probably because sometimes if you take an exercise class, or maybe if you're not sure what we're gonna be doing and you're
Yeah.
thinking we're just gonna be standing in one place, like, you might think that it's fine. So I think it's just lack
Oh,
of
wow. Interesting.
understanding what's gonna be happening in the class, but it's actually can be quite dangerous. What would be another one for studio etiquette that you've seen as a faux pas?
Yeah, so I will say standing in the front of the room whenever you are new to a class. Now, again, if you have lots of experience and you are a great dancer, still remember that you're new to that class. And there might be other students. First of all, we kind of already have our space within the class. Like you already have your, oh, I'm always in the front line or the second one or the third one. You always have that little space that is yours when you get to the center. So when you get to a new class, you kind of need to read the room. Don't go and step all the way to the back and just go and wait for the second group to do it. No, but stay a little bit back just to see what people are doing who are a little bit more step forward and go straight to their places. And then you're like, ah, okay, everyone kind of had their places. So there's a little bit of space here, I might fit there. So you are giving them the time and respect to accept you. It's already you've been accepted. It's not about being accepted or not. It's just about not understanding the dynamic of the class.
Hey, adult dancer. Do you love the podcast and want more resources, news, and tips to support your ballet goals? Head over to thebusybunhead.com, your source for all things adult ballet. Stay in the know, find community, and fuel your motivation with resources like the bulletin board, a free monthly newsletter, and the Bunhead Book Club. Brand new to ballet? Book a session to get your questions answered. It's all waiting for you at thebusybunhead.com. Yeah, and I think if you're a beginner or even if you're just new to that class, sometimes the way the teacher gives combinations you might not be familiar with. And if you are struggling and you're at the very front of the room, that can be distracting. Though I always, for me personally, like you said, I tend to kind of gravitate towards being towards the back, especially if it's a newer class and I'm not really sure how it's going to go, just because being up front and being really behind or off the music or forgetting the choreography causes more of a distraction to the people
Yeah.
around you because you chose to place yourself front and center than if you were more towards the middle or more towards the back. So I think
Yeah.
it is kind of a way, like you said, also of just respecting the established group dynamics and almost earning your place over time. I think maybe we don't
Yeah,
like to
that's
say that
correct.
out loud, but I do think within ballet and even with dance classes in general, there is that kind of unspoken, I don't want to say hierarchy, but there is that. Like that is a reality. And so I think just being kind of upfront about it is probably better than acting like
It
not a
is
thing.
true. It is true. So it is not a surprise to everyone. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that you're going to be renegated all the way to the back forever. That first class, the best way is not to stand out because you just want to understand the class, the dynamic, the teacher, the students. And another thing that I want to say from my point of view as a teacher, in my class, when center class starts, I always ask my students when they are facing me to be from half of the studio back. I do not want anyone half of the studio forward because for me to be able to see you all, I need you to be back. I need you to all be like a third of the classroom and back, away from the mirrors, away from me. So I have a space to move around, to mark the steps without having to go in the center between all of you, because my idea is to be in front of all of you so you can all see me at the same time. That way I can see everyone. And you will not know that if you don't step a little bit back and then you notice that everyone is not standing right on my nose, but actually everyone is standing slightly back so I can have my space and see all of you. So that's why it's so important to don't go straight up into the center.
Yeah, and I think that's like another faux pas in and of itself to add to the list is crowding the teacher. You want to maintain that space for the teacher to be able to come up and demonstrate comfortably and not being so pushed forward that you're not giving the teacher space. That's another good one. So we could probably move into appearance and attire, what to wear, what not to wear now. So what would you say is a little bit of a fashion faux pas?
Mixing black and pink together. I will
Well,
say
you have to be specific.
I would say black leotard with pink with pink tights and pink shoes. Yes, now black tights with pink shoes. The line, everything is gone. It just doesn't look right. I wouldn't recommend it for females, but you can have black tights with black shoes. That's more for boys and for male dancers. But if you want, just combine the whole black thing or the whole pink. We talked about it before in few episodes, how if you're buying shoes and you're buying thighs, try to think about tights, not thighs, tights. Think about the combination of the color, how they match it so they can go flowing through the line of your legs on the way to your foot. So black tights, I understand that it's a little bit more covering and you feel less exposed, but think about then the footwear for that.
Yeah, I think for females, lighter colors at the end of your lines is like a good rule of thumb. If you want to wear black tights, like I personally like to wear black tights some of the times, especially certain times of the month. I think most of us prefer black tights. So rather than wearing black tights tucked into your pink slippers where they're pulled all the way over your foot, it would look better and be seen as more correct to wear either the tights rolled up around your ankles or black stirrup tights where the stirrup part goes over your shoe, not inside your shoe, because in a way that's kind of still continuing the line a little bit further because it's going all the way down over your heel versus just getting chopped off at the ankle. So those would be kind of the more correct ways to wear black tights with pink shoes or even nude slippers rather than tucking them all the way in. So I actually personally, as an adult, I don't even own black tights that are like the full foot tights. The only black tights I own are cutoff and stirrup for that exact reason, because I don't own black shoes. And so I wouldn't even have a way to wear black tights that are fully covered. So that's a pretty common thing. Like you'll notice in dance classes with adult dancers is like you're not usually going to see women wearing fully footed black tights or black shoes.
Just doesn't look right. Another thing that I would recommend, if that is the point of the month where we want to wear something black and more covering, then go for yoga pants. Don't go for those flare pants that everyone is wearing now, because you want your teachers to be able to see your legs, to correct your turnout, your ande. So don't wear flare pants, but leggings, tight leggings. That's perfect. And they are sometimes even more comfortable, even if your clothes are dirty for some reason, you didn't want to wash your tights or whatever. Yoga pants, leggings, perfect.
And on the subject of tights, another one that is a faux pas would be not wearing any tights or bottoms, I guess, at all, just wearing a leotard. That's kind of generally something that is not really done. So, wearing a leotard like a bathing suit, where you don't have any sort of shorts or tights or yoga pants, anything over it.
Skirt.
Yeah, skirt. But even that, I feel like with a skirt, it's kind of one of those unspoken things of modesty in the classroom, because if you are going to be doing things like penchés and splits, it's nice to have a little bit more coverage. It's less distracting for other people in your class. If you're going to be, imagine being in a crowded classroom and you're doing penchés and the person in front of you does penché and they're essentially wearing a bathing suit. It's a little more like, wow, crotch than it is if you're wearing tights or something. So
Definitely.
I never see seasoned dancers wearing no form of either cutoff tights, athletic shorts, or yoga pants.
But it's first for me as a professional dancer, right? It feels better. It makes you feel more comfortable that nothing is gonna get out of the way.
Yeah.
That nothing is gonna free anything. That everything is holded in place. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, it's a win for you, it's a win for the people in your class. The emphasis in a ballet studio should be on dancing, not on wardrobe malfunctions. And so I think that by wearing tights or shorts of some kind, you are keeping it a distraction-free environment. I would say the same even for checking like the sheerness of things like leotards or even yoga pants. This is a true story. I have been in a class with someone who wore yoga pants and probably did not realize how sheer they were. And then when they were doing things bending over, it was like, I can see your whole thong or whole butt. And so that is obviously probably accidental. I'm going to go for benefit of the doubt on that and assume that was an accident. But
That was a choice there.
yeah, it may have been a choice, but and I think a good way to avoid that is just by testing things in direct light, because you just in ballet, you're going to be bending in different ways than you would have just like standing and checking something in the dressing room. So yeah, do like the bend over test with light shining on you, because that way when you're in class, you're not going to be
Yeah, leave something for
exposing
imagination.
yourself. Yeah. And I always feel bad in those situations because I never know, do you say something, do you not say something? Because I'm like, surely this person doesn't know, and I feel like I should tell them, but I don't wanna embarrass them, so, like, yeah, just don't be that person, you know? So another one I think we should definitely talk about because it is 2025 is technology and technology-related faux pas. So things like using your phone in class. So, like, as a teacher, Elena, what are your feelings on phones in class, especially a live class?
Yeah, well, first of all, my phone, I just got so used to have it in silence, but it doesn't even vibrate. My phone is 24/7 on silence and without vibration because I don't want anyone to get distracted with my phone. So make sure to not use your phone. Obviously, though, we are adults. We have responsibilities at home. We might be taking care of mom or dad or kids. So I totally understand. But if your phone, for some reason, if you're waiting for a phone call, you're waiting for a message, just come and tell the teacher, teacher, my phone might sound. I'm waiting for this and that and that. Just let the teacher know my phone is always not on silence because I'm always on call because I'm always waiting for something. So at that point, you're just gonna make sure that your phone is sounding but as low volume as possible. And the other part that I would say is answer the phone away from the classroom, not even in the back of the classroom, like no, 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 fully out, all the way out. Because at the end, you're already answering the phone call. So you're already distracting everyone. Just get out of the way.
Yeah, and I think too, because that's a good point if you have kids and things like I know most parents probably wouldn't be comfortable, especially if you're like the sole caregiver of completely turning off your phone. But even like you said, I think just telling the teacher if you're expecting a call is really important, or even just telling the teacher, like, hey, I have kids. So just so you know, like my phone will be at the bar with me. And then if you just put it on vibrate or you even set it face up, so that way you can see the screen versus having a loud sound. Anything you can do to kind of minimize the sound it makes is going to be a win. And then totally agree, like answering your phone in the classroom is definitely a big no-no. Like just wait the extra 5 seconds till you're out the door and in the hallway and answer in the hallway. Another big one too,
Definitely.
and I know that this kind of varies from studio to studio as far as what the exact rules are, but something that I would say, especially in ballet, is generally just a faux pas, is to film without asking permission. And even if it's just yourself mainly in the shot, but like if there's people behind you and they're going to be in the shot, filming your teacher, giving combinations, things like that. My studio, there's like a no filming during class just policy in the studio. So even if you wanted to, and even if you asked the people around you, you're not allowed to. But I know for some studios, you can if you have permission, but just don't skip the permission step because just setting up your phone to film without talking to the people around you, and especially without talking to the teacher, would definitely be seen again, especially in the ballet world. I don't know, it might be a little bit different for other genres of dance, but I know for ballet, which tends to be a little bit more
Yeah,
lyric
it's
oriented.
massive at the moment. Yeah, it's about respecting everyone's privacy and at the same time copyrights from the studios. Like you don't know if that teacher's classes, she just doesn't want to share it. She doesn't want anyone copying her combinations. It's very important to be very careful with that. For me, it's a little bit of a shock because in China, everything is recorded. I had no personal space. I had no privacy. Everything was recorded. We had cameras inside the classroom so the parents could see the kids 24/7. So that's how bad it was. When I got to Australia, there is a no recording policy for any kid. There cannot be their faces, there cannot be nothing, not even their backs. It's very important to be very careful with that.
Yeah. I think too in a class setting, especially for adult ballet, a lot of times it's taking a lot of vulnerability and courage for people to get in class and they're already feeling self-conscious. And so having cameras, like I actually appreciate that about my studio that once class starts, it's no recording because I think it helps people feel comfortable to be in process and to be learning and not feeling like they have to have everything perfect. Like it's funny, I've actually seen a lot of things on social media of dancers and teachers specifically talking about how social media has really changed the class experience, especially at some of the bigger studios, because it doesn't feel as much like people are coming to take class anymore. It feels like they're coming to perform, especially when you're again in the bigger studios. Like I live in LA, so there's, we have some big studios and choreographers. And so when people come, it's almost like they're doing the class for the Instagram video and it kind of takes away the learning and classroom environment feel. And so I think just consider that to consider that the other people in your class, while you might be comfortable on camera and you might be comfortable kind of showing your process, there might be other people who like it took everything in them just to get to class. And the thought of being on camera would be horrifying for them. So just think about it from their perspective, I think is a healthy approach. So, how to handle our faux pas? Maybe, Yelena, you could give us a little wrap up of the takeaways. Like, we're all going to do it. We're all going to do at least one of these. So, how do we handle it?
Exactly. I would say just acknowledge what's going on, adjust yourself as fast as you can, and just move on. Don't worry what happened yesterday. If you were in the center of the classroom, oh my God, it's okay. Next class, go to a little bit of a corner, go to the side, or next class, don't bring your bottle to the center, don't talk on the phone, or don't try to record without asking for permission.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's not that serious. It's just ballet. So, if you've done any of these things, don't worry about it. Don't feel too ashamed to go back to your studio. It's totally fine. Again, the point of this was not to judge or make people feel insecure. This is really meant to be helpful. So if at any point any of these things have happened to you, like Elena said, just adjust and move on. We hope this was helpful for you guys. And we would love to know if you have any other faux pas that we missed. So maybe we'll do like a social media poll.
Someone else has been in that position, like, oh, it was me, the one with the water bottle in the middle of the studio. Oh my God, I have been to the classroom with the sheared leggings or tights or whatever. So that'll be really good to hear.
And that's why I purposely never say the names of the studios that I go to for class, because I don't ever want anyone to feel like personally called out. And I go to multiple. So even if you think you know, you probably don't. This is not about you, I promise. And I have done these things. So none of us is above it.
Definitely, we all done it.
Well, we hope that you guys enjoyed this episode, and we would love it if you did enjoy it. You would go ahead and leave us a review. They really help us get the show in front of other adult dancers who are looking for resources, and we really appreciate and read every single one that you guys leave. So we will catch you guys on the next episode.
See ya! Thank you for listening to After Class.
Join the community on YouTube and Instagram, or come dance with us, our weekly Zoom classes for adult ballerinas like you.
Links included in the episode description. Special thank you to our sponsors.
See you next time after class. Podcast produced by Mission Bridge Media.